to the Infowars Nightly News. It is Wednesday, October 9th, 2013, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight.
We were told if you have a low credit score, it could affect what you pay for premiums.
Obamacare, making insurance affordable by raising premiums. And get ready for mandatory walking helmets. That's next on the Infowars Nightly News.
We're going to change your diaper. It's sexy. And in every ancient culture, women got out of hand. They said, you know what? It's really sexy if you bind your feet up where you can't walk. Just sit there and shut up. They're like, oh, it's trendy.
What you haven't seen before, I think, from the vantage point of a lot of world leaders, is the notion that one party in Congress might blow the whole thing up if they don't get their way. You have some ideological extremist who has a big bankroll, and they can entirely skew our politics. And there are a whole bunch of members of Congress right now who privately will tell you, I know our positions are unreasonable, but we're scared that if we don't go along with the Tea Party agenda or some particularly extremist agenda, that we'll be challenged from the right. You don't pay a ransom, you don't provide concessions for Congress doing its job and America paying its bills.
What? Wasn't Obama the one who was just negotiating with militant extremists in Syria earlier this year, and they were demanding that the U.S. send them weapons, and then Obama was trying to negotiate with Congress to get them to send arms to these militant extremists? But these so-called political extremists, no, he doesn't want to negotiate with them. He's rejected every resolution that the Republicans have sent his way. He refuses to go to the table, but yet he insists that it's the Republicans who are being unreasonable. He's like a mafia boss, and he just wants what he wants, and in order to get it, he sends his goons out to break proverbial legs and to make sure that you feel the pain of defying the great Lord Obama. And his administration is being extremely petty and selective with enforcing the shutdown. They're arresting people at the Grand Canyon, throwing the elderly out of their homes, shutting down all the national parks. They won't let Catholic priests on military bases do the Catholic sacraments like Mass and baptisms, or they could get arrested. They're arresting veterans who visit their memorial. But of course, they've allowed an immigration rally to take place on the closed National Mall. That goes on and on. He is the terrorist, and he wants you to feel the pain.
Welcome to Tyranny Watch. I'm Gigi Arnetta. Well, our government just can't help itself. Now it's keeping liquor from selling. In Kentucky, the partial government shutdown is causing problems for owners of a distillery. John Ingram and Denise Story are co-owners of Jefferson Street Whiskey Company. They have all the required permits and licenses so they can legally start distilling, but they can't sell their products because the government has not yet approved the distillery's labels. And in Pittsburgh, Maggie's Farm Rum will be ready to drink, but you can't have any because labeling has to be approved by the Alcohol and Tobacco and Tax and Trade Bureau. So no new whiskey or rum for you, America, or oceanfront views, because Old Smoky doesn't want you to be able to see the beautiful American views while there's a government shutdown. San Francisco's Cliff House was forced to close last Thursday as part of the government shutdown because all concessions in national parks are required to be closed. So in response to the shutdown, the Cliff House owners opened anyway on Monday, October 7th, only to be closed again. The last statement reads, while the local Park Service officials have been sympathetic and helpful in relaying the Cliff House's concerns to Park Service headquarters in Washington, D.C., the decisions are driven by D.C., which has instructed that the facility must close. Way to go, Smokey, destroying businesses in the United States. USA, USA. And let me ask you, if a person goes to a park, do you actually chase them all the way home, or do you follow them in your SUV and hunt them down that way? In Pennsylvania, a man who went jogging in a National Historic Park was slapped with a $100 fine because the area was closed due to the shutdown. Really? And like that's not enough, the National Park Services went and removed handles off of water fountains. In what looks to be a really spiteful maneuver, The NPS even removed handles from water spigots along the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, where bikers and joggers exercise, as well as along the Great Allegheny Passage, just to ensure people don't get any water from them. And you can fight the tyranny by signing up for prisonplanet.tv. You can give your username and password up to 10 people. Let's have a real budget cut. Let's start with the National Park Services. So long, Smokey. I'm Gigi Arnetta with Tyranny Watch on the Infowars Nightly News.
Obama wants you to feel the pain, but you should feel the tyranny. America, feel the oppression. Well, if you were one of those elusive people who just so happened to be able to sign up for Obamacare via the healthcare.gov website, be sure to read the fine print. Obamacare Marketplace. Personal data can be used for law enforcement and audit activities. The user agreement states, any information that you provide to us in your application will be used only to carry out the functions of Maryland Health Connection. The only exception to this policy is that we may share information provided in your application with the appropriate authorities for law enforcement and audit activities. The site does not specify if appropriate authorities refers only to state authorities or if it could include the federal government as well. Neither is there any detail on what type of law enforcement and or audit activities would justify the release of the personal information or who exactly is authorized to make such a determination. So just by signing up, your information is being shared with the IRS. But why should that concern you?
One of the concerns is actually about credit scores. People are being asked to show their credit score when signing up.
That's right, Lisa. It is asking you to show your credit score. It is required. And we were told if you have a low credit score, it could affect what you pay for premiums.
So a day later, the woman who told reporters that said she made a mistake. It's not true that you're required to provide your credit score. So who is this Ann Packham that made that statement? She's the lead navigator in Florida. That's right, the person licensed by the state to explain the Affordable Care Act to you and me is confused, and the site itself is still bogged down with glitches, so no one knows what's actually there. None of us can find out how much our deductible is going to be and how high are the premiums we're going to be paying. And that is the plan. I don't think the marketplace is going to be open until after the government shutdown ends. That way Obama can get what he wants, and then the reality of how much this Affordable Care Act is actually going to cost you and me is going to be abundantly clear. And it's going to be a lot more than what we expect, and we're all going to be very, very angry about it, but it'll be too late. So the Republicans and Democrats are both playing to their bases right now during this whole shutdown. But both sides know that Obamacare must pass in order to please their corporate masters. Just look at how high those stock prices are for the insurance companies. They have absolutely soared. So neither the Republicans or the Democrats are going to allow those stocks to crash because they are bought and paid for by the insurance companies who wrote the Affordable Care Act. And who owns the biggest insurance company out there? The Federal Reserve. They bought AIG in 2008 with our bailout money. And they're the ones that helped draft the Affordable Care Act. So this is not about helping the poor. This is about transferring the wealth, continuing to transfer the wealth to the 1% of the 1%. And those terrorist Tea Partiers, they're probably the only ones who aren't bought and paid for because they're just still pretty new to this two-party system. And that could be why they still have yet to sell out entirely to Wall Street. So we'll have to see. But it's apparent that banksters can commit fraud. They can fund drug cartels and terrorist organizations. But just like the mafia, anyone who challenges their banking system will be taken out.
About a week ago, the FBI arrested the man who allegedly owned Silk Road, an online source of illegal drugs that accepted only bitcoins. What is most interesting is that the FBI has not yet been able to seize over 600,000 bitcoins without his password. The FBI can't crack it, or maybe they don't want to crack it. Maybe they want to use it as an excuse to try to shut down Bitcoin. While the war on drugs has been an absolute failure by any metric, the war on property rights and the war on due process has been a resounding success for the feds. We've seen an abuse of civil forfeiture without due process, without people being charged with a crime. In many cases, the people who have their property seized are never charged with a crime. So one of the key reasons to stop prohibition is the ludicrous unconstitutional extremes the government has taken in property seizures. But it isn't just that bitcoins are hard for the feds to seize. They also offer something the feds hate even more, and that's privacy. Under the Bank Secrecy Act, financial institutions are required to report transactions to the feds and must also, quote, know, in other words, verify, customer identities. In other words, the Bank Secrecy Act means there is no secrecy with banks. But as we've seen with HSBC, when large banks know their customers are drug cartels or terrorists, the feds leave them alone if they're a big bank that supports the central bank fiat money scheme. HSBC was caught laundering money for Sinaloa and Zeta drug cartels. They were caught laundering money for Hamas, Hezbollah, and Al-Qaeda. Yet Assistant Attorney General Lanny Breuer said HSBC would almost certainly have lost its banking license in the U.S. The future of the institution would have been under threat and the entire banking system would have been destabilized if they hadn't just given them a slap on the wrist, if they had enforced the laws against money laundering. But HSBC was too big to jail because they serve the fiat banking system and they partner with the feds in running drugs and in arming terrorists. The feds hate Bitcoin because it serves as an alternative to their banking system and their control. They would love to destabilize it, but that's not going to be easy. If the government tries to shut down Bitcoin like they did Liberty Reserve, they're going to have a problem. There is no single person for them to move against like Budofsky at Liberty Reserve. Bitcoins are both anonymous and decentralized, so it'll be very difficult for the feds to try to shut it down. If they do, they will drive it underground. But if they can get a hold of the 600,000 Bitcoins, which are 5% of the outstanding total of Bitcoins at the time, they could try to destabilize it. Good luck with that. It will be very transparent if they try. For Infowars Nightly News, I'm David Knight.
All right, well, stay with us because after the break, you're going to find out the fashion trend that's taking the trendies by storm. And then after that, Tosh Plumlee speaks with Alex Jones about being shut down by the man. Stick around. People on a crowded commuter train in San Francisco were so wrapped up in texting and looking at their tablets that they failed to see a man draw his gun several times and point it across the aisle. In fact, authorities said they didn't notice the gunman until he randomly shot and killed a university student. The district attorney said these people are in very close proximity with him and nobody sees this. They're just so engrossed, texting and reading and whatnot. They're completely oblivious of their surroundings. People are already zombified with their phones permanently attached to their hands, but just wait until Google rolls out their transhumanist plans. People will be completely oblivious.
What I call the creepy line and the Google policy about a lot of these things is to get right up to the creepy line but not cross it. I would argue that implanting things in your brain is beyond the creepy line.
Mine in particular.
Yes, at least for the moment, until the technology gets better.
Well, until that technology does become available, Google is going to sell transhumanism to the trendies via Vogue magazine. The magazine recently published a photo shoot set in a dystopian, futuristic landscape to promote Google Glass. Paul Watson writes, "The creepy images send the message that anyone who refuses to completely sacrifice privacy and embrace Google Glass is obsolete and cannot be part of a future world run by vapid, emotionless authoritarians who behave more like robots than humans." This fashionista's vision of a dystopian future world is actually right outside our producer Marcos Morales' hometown. He is very trendy. You want to know what else is trendy? Helmets.
In the last decade, we have seen actions by the nanny state in North America, but also in Europe, that are beyond the absurdity that the great mind of Kurt Vonnegut could even come up with. We have seen dodgeball and then tag banned all across the country in thousands of school districts. Now they've announced in multiple states no more footballs or other balls will be allowed or other recreational materials on the playground during recess because someone might get hurt. And it's because of this tyranny, that's what it is, meant to make us totally domesticated slaves, that is being pushed by the federal government through the states, that I thought of the idea of sending our reporters out in Austin, Texas, to talk to the public and see if they would accept wearing helmets by law to be able to walk down the street for their safety and for Obamacare to lower the price of premiums. We talked to 20 people, and 14 of them signed the petition to pass a law to make the general population wear helmets when you walk down the street. Think of the absurdity of this. And to try to wake them up, the petition was even titled Chumps. Of course, the universal term for meaning you're an idiot, a mark, a fool, a schmuck, a sucker. This is not satire. This is not a joke. This is really happening. This is the amazing level of conditioning and brainwashing that the general public, especially trendies, are under. Here is Leanne McAdoo and Josh Owens' report.
Can I get you to sign my petition to compel people to wear helmets while they're walking? Awesome. Can I get you to sign up to make everyone wear one?
No, it's like...
To just go
Would
ahead.
that be a mandatory law or something you're saying?
I mean, I hope so. We can get it passed. Oh my gosh, texting while walking. Texting while walking. Do you know in
actually about to place a call.
Still, you know in New Jersey they're giving out $85 tickets for people that are caught texting while walking, and they're going to start doing that here. That's why I am trying to get a petition to get people to wear helmets while they're walking.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Everyone who just doesn't want to pay attention, who just wants to like zombie out, can just walk in a special lane that's made just for them. But until then, everyone just needs to have like protective gear on so that I'm not going to hurt you, you won't hurt me.
Yeah, sure, I'll sign.
I think it's a good idea.
I will.
Yeah. You want to make everybody wear helmets?
These dummies need to wear it.
That's crazy.
Just make everything safe.
For me, I'm a libertarian, you know. For me, I feel like as long as you don't cause any harm to
Ooh,
anybody else.
libertarist. To just get people to start wearing helmets to keep people safe on the streets.
Hold on.
That way everyone can just talk on their phones and text freely and they don't have to worry, and it'll help keep like insurance costs down.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. While walking?
Yes.
Why while walking?
So they don't endanger themselves.
Oh. Say that again.
I was texting and I slipped right on a thing just like this, and it was wet, and I was like, whoo! And it was so embarrassing, and everyone saw, and they were all laughing at me, and I couldn't sue anyone for my butt. I hit my tailbone, and I was like limping for a week. Like, we're all in this together. Like, we have socialized healthcare now, so it's like everyone's responsible for everyone. So if I fall, you fall. Well, you can get them like form fitted to your head. They can have like special gear. You can make them like tactical. You could get like with the the water bottles. They have those that you wear at the baseball park.
Yeah, I mean, I like helmets.
They're already kind of starting this whole thing, like in New York. They're banning dodgeball, banning other sports that are going to hurt people and get people injured. And like one of the most dangerous things is walking. Yeah. People just walk out in front of a bus.
I'll sign it. And it makes sense technically, so.
Guys, would you like to sign this petition to get people to wear helmets while walking? Super trendy. Well, I think UT, we're super trendy, so we can get it. What starts here changes the world.
I'm down for it.
We can't be trusted, and that's why if we can just make this a law, a rule that we can enforce.
Yeah, no, of course, tickets for anyone without helmets. Godspeed. You can do it. I believe.
Thanks. Hashtag trendy. But don't worry, we are not totally screwed. Not everybody signed it. You want to sign my petition to compel people to wear helmets while they're walking? I know your hair is awesome, but it's very dangerous for you to be out here on the streets, especially with all these people not paying attention. And it'll help Obama pass the Affordable Care Act.
I'm good. Thank you.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to think about that.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, be safe.
Not ready yet.
Be safe out there.
You seem very concerned, and I think what you're doing is fine, you know, but at the same time, you got people like me that's going to say no to you. But, you know, if you're successful, you know, then best wishes to you.
All right.
But you have a good day.
You too.
Have a good day.
I felt really bad for calling that guy a libertarianist. He was really, really nice and very politically aware. So I apologize, Mr. Libertarian out there, if you ever see that report. Now stay with us because after the break, Benghazi whistleblower Tosh Plumlee will be speaking with Alex Jones. Welcome back. Tosh Plumlee blew the lid off the Benghazi scandal a couple of weeks ago when he revealed some shocking information on the Alex Jones show. Well, he's returned today with some very intense questions he has for the Obama administration that most journalists are too afraid to ask.
We only got him on for about 10 minutes just to get an update. I appreciate him coming on. Headline from Julie Wilson up on Infowars.com. Former CIA whistleblower targeted by government for Facebook post. Whistleblower calls out government Facebook post, gets threatened by the DOJ. That's the Department of Justice. And I guess that's via the DOD. And the point is that Tosh Plumlee is a famous whistleblower from back in the church hearings in '77, on record, and the Iran-Contra hearings. But he's still, at 76 years old, the only job he has is a contractor. He's a famous contractor, flew guns to Castro when he was working for the U.S., then flew guns in after him. Bay of Pigs, you name it, all of it. For those that don't know history, he's a famous guy. Folks don't know who Chuck Yeager is or Audie Murphy nowadays. That's just amazing. But the point is that he lived it. He came on our show, said they're going to come after me probably, but I talked to a high-level NATO source and others. It wasn't just the Libyan arms they were covering up to al-Qaeda with the ambassador from Turkey to Syria. It was in the legal export, but illegal to al-Qaeda, out of the State Department giving them actual modern stingers. He's got the DOJ saying, how do you know that? And so he's going to give us an update on what he's dealing with right now, what's happening as a contractor, a mercenary in his own words. But he's not a mercenary because, you know, he's got these contacts. He's risking his life to do this. And as Jim Garrison said, you got to be in the spotlight or get dead. He's also here because once he learned all this, he had to go public or he had a better chance of being killed. And from my research, I hadn't been around in the 50s like he was, but in my years of dealing with this stuff, he's absolutely right. So we'll get Stuart Rhodes' take on that in a moment as well. But Tosh Plumlee, we appreciate your courage. Tell us what you're going through, what's happened, and the repercussions you've had from coming on the broadcast.
Okay, well thank you, Alex. I appreciate your offer to come back on. I hope I can recap this for you in a way where your listeners can understand it. Back in 2009, friends of mine, military or high-ranking officers, was involved with the task force out in Mexico, training out the Mexican Marinos to go in and track down cartel members and put a stop to some of those activities. That was an article that was done called Boots on the Ground by Bill Conroy and Narco News. That went from 2009. The Fast and Furious thing got caught up in it. We began to find out weapons that were coming legally, not illegally, but legally from the direct commercial sales program, were showing up in crime scenes in Mexico. These were not always coming from mom and pop gun stores. These were anti-aircraft guns, Stinger missiles, RPGs. I went in with the task force down there and the Marinos with Task Force 7 and photographed some of these weapons, reported back to proper authorities what we were finding, and we got stonewalled. So the reason that I was contacted down there is because there was a leak that was causing the Task Force 7 members of that crew working inside Mexico. Cartel was finding out information that they were actually training out, and they were coming after them gunning. Similar to a situation that happened with Kiki Camarena in 1985. This has been an ongoing operation for, a number of years. So, like I said earlier on one of your broadcasts, they take it off the shelf, tweak it a little bit, dust it off, put it back out in an operation. I'll speed up here a little bit. So then my friend down there, two others, they got transferred over to Afghanistan. Military intelligence unit over there began working with the NATO force. The NATO's began to, particular NATO force over there began to find numerous weapons that were coming from stockpiles from the direct commercial sales program into Jordan, Turkey, Pakistan, and those were going into what they referred to as safe houses that were being run by elements or organizations within the CIA. I think that has become public now. Those weapons that were found by there, well, let me get back here. The NATO guy relayed that information to my contact. My contact told me, he said, hey, the direct commercial sales program is sending weapons over to CIA safe houses, and they're being dispersed to factions within the Syrian rebels. Now, it's been reported that we're running to the Syrian rebels. The Syrian rebels are so interspersed with so many organizations and infiltrated, they're very porous. So these weapons, we lost monitor. We could not monitor them. Blue Lantern Report is supposed to monitor these weapons, tracking devices, things like that, to find out where they were going. All right. Then, about a year later after that, these weapons began to show up in these factions that these rebels had. They were U.S.-made weapons. They were high-impact weapons. There were some RPG, M16, which are not really high-impact, but anti-aircraft, all kinds of different 105 Hauser shells, 75 millimeters, armor-piercing stuff. These things were scattered to various safe houses in Jordan, Qatar, and Pakistan and Turkey. Then when we had the attack on the embassy, some of these groups that were supposed to be protecting that embassy was told to stand down, a national security matter. As a result of that, the attack, and we lost an ambassador. I would have probably never got into this except I heard a plea from one of the mothers of one of these men that was killed there in Benghazi. All she was doing was begging our government to tell her what happened.
And Tosh, you've told that story. You're telling folks why you did this. You know, coming out of relative obscurity since 1991, the last time you testified to Congress on round 2 of Iran-Contra, to tell this and risk your life and expose what your NATO source, to recap, said. No, the word is they had the ambassador basically killed. The stand down was deliberate, and a lot of that's come out. My sources say that as well. You just talked directly to the NATO source and other Pentagon sources, as you said, military sources, high level, that confirmed it. Now you've, is it accurate? Because I've got your statements from Facebook. Tell us about the repercussions you got, because we know they go after whistleblowers that expose their crimes. Okay. What's happening?
Right. Okay, now we'll start up in here. So then what I thought I could do from my friend in there, he said, well, what can you do? And I said, well, I'll contact various people that I do know and see if we can get the story out. So I thought we could hit mainstream media, and then, bam. So I immediately got shut down. That sort of alarmed me a little bit, so I said, okay, I'm going to go out.
That's right. You did interviews with Fox News and others, and none of it aired.
Not as yet. And I understand that there's some little problems that they're having about airing this particular story.
I was about to say, so you've done that interview, but they haven't aired it. Go ahead.
Right. So I thought, well, the only thing that's going to protect me is get this information out there before the fact. So I began to say, okay, here's the story. Answer these questions that I have for the sake of Mrs. Smith. Answer the question of what happened to her son. Why is there, in my opinion, a cover-up? The only reason that I feel that there's a cover-up is because of the weapons that were shipped legally through the direct commercial sales that were getting pilfered into rebels' hands and being used against our troops.
Sure, and now Obama signed an order saying he's allowed to arm terrorists, but it's retroactive. It still doesn't hold water. So what's the DOJ? What are they saying to you?
Well, all right, they were supposed to come out here, and we're going to have a sort of a top level, well, not a top level, we're going to have a meeting about this at Peterson Air Force Base sometime around the 20, I think it was the 23rd, 24th, somewhere along there. And then as a result of me going to the public, releasing the story, they called off that meeting. The meeting was going to be a preliminary meeting to talk to me about this NATO source and also my colonel friend. And I was told that I would be called back. This was a preliminary meeting, and I'll probably be called back to D.C. to testify to what I've said publicly.
Sure, they always say that, though. You know, I mean, you're smarter than I am. You've been through this. They're trying to find out who the sources are.
Well, that's exactly what. I'd already gone through that with the Fast and Furious situation, and then also back in some earlier stuff where I got gagged because they threatened me with, after I testified.
Sure, so you called Jim Mars. He got a hold of me so you could get this out before they gagged you. So what's the latest?
All right. Well, the latest was then they come in and tell me that they're taking what I have said and turn that over to the DOJ and the Homeland Security and State Department for a possible investigation of releasing national security matters. Hell, I'm not even an employee of the federal government. I'm not privy to top secret information, but I did have a leak that leaked some information to me.
Sure. I mean, here's the deal. You knew what was going on. We all know. These are criminals that murdered him to cover up their al-Qaeda arming, and now they're coming to threaten you with the same Justice Department that ran Fast and Furious and that runs all the narcotics and the little kids and everything else, and the mafia's mad you're exposing them. The mafia's mad you're not a total coward.
Well, okay, so I'm looking for, I'm telling you the story. I mean, so as a result, the meeting was canceled because it was already public, and they said to me that they're going to turn this over for an investigation, and they wanted to know my sources. And I said, well, I'm a journalist. I'm not going to divulge my sources. And this is the quote. Sir, we will see about that. To me, I considered that as a threat. And then immediately I called my friend Jim Mars. He advised me to get back in touch with you, get it out public before the fact that you've been threatened. I take it as a threat. Now, they want to tell me to tell them who my sources were in NATO and who my sources are in the U.S. military. I refuse to do that. So now, are they going to try to make me a Bradley Manning and a Snowden or a crossbreed between the two? I'm not a government employee.
Here's the deal. They're at war with the press. And if they blow your car up or they say you commit suicide or they blow my car up, we were killed, period. And, hey, it's not like we're stupid with these guys. You knew what you were doing. I know. We all know. We're all in. They hate that, too. I mean, Tosh, you knew this, but this shows they're really, really scared. We've got the head of Oath Keepers here with us, constitutional lawyer, Ron Paul advisor, folks that just joined us, Stuart Rhodes, oathkeepers.org. What's your take on what you're hearing here?
Well, Mr. Plumlee is doing exactly what needs to be done, and hats off to him for being a whistleblower. This is exactly what has to happen. Those who have knowledge of what's going on need to expose it, and he's a hero, frankly. He's just as much a hero as Snowden, if not more so, since he's still in the United States. I would encourage him to contact Senator Rand Paul's office or one of the other patriots, maybe Cruz, someone at the high levels of the U.S. government, to go there and testify, go to their offices now, become one of their witnesses. That's probably your best protection in the legal.
That's right, because what people don't get, I want you to continue with your...
Now, let me interject something here. That doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't.
Fast and Furious, I went to Senator Grassley through Donnelly and their aide, and I give them the complete picture, the background, the whole story about what that military crew, Task Force 7, was doing down out of Fort Bliss, Texas, was doing down in Mexico. They put me on ice. Now, I went out, not public to the media about that at first. Then I made contact to another media friend that I had named Narco News, who covered it, and also Salem News, who put me on as a journalist for my protection.
Sure.
They covered it. Now, I go out to see Ron Paul. I go out to see these fat cats sitting up in Washington, and I'm not mad at these people. I just want to get them off their butts and do something in this country by sitting here throwing...
Well, I mean, also, we're not the glittery Fox News or CNN, even though our audience are as big or bigger. I'm
not a conspiracy type person. I don't give a rat's butt about what the hell they do in Washington, D.C. As far as being a hero and a mercenary or a whistleblower, that's not my game in life. There is something going on here that the American people need to know about.
Right.
Tosh, I agree. You really sound energized now that they've threatened you.
I went through proper channels. That did not work. I contacted mainstream media. That did not work. Now, you've asked me to come back on this program for the third time. Here is a series of questions that I have asked directly for Mrs. Smith. Why won't the State Department, the DOJ, Homeland Security, and the President of the United States answer answer those 11 questions that I've asked over 2 weeks ago. I want to get focused back on those issues.
Sir, Tosh, stay there. Listen to me. I don't think you can hear me over the cell phone. Tosh, I got to say this. We're going to break here in a moment. This is a big deal. I mean, Julie Wilson wrote the article. We've got you on about this. We're now in the same kettle of fish with you here. My whole issue is that our listeners need to understand, we drop bombshell after bombshell. People first heard about the Navy SEALs being murdered here. That's now come out and been confirmed. Okay, we first broke that. We break so much big stuff. Our listeners need to understand how serious this is. You're hearing the big Benghazi break right now and a Fast and Furious break. This guy's a famous whistleblower right here, right now. The DOJ's threatening him. They've already persecuted the press. We need to talk about what we do next. Stay there, Tosh. We're going to come back with Stuart Rhodes, constitutional lawyer. You're a constitutional lawyer, head of Oath Keepers. Maybe you need to take this guy on and take him up there with you to Washington and have a press conference because, again, they might try to whack this guy. I'm telling you, that's what they do. They're a bunch of killers.
Well, he's doing the right thing. He's doing both.
I got Tosh Plumlee during the break to tell me what's going on, and then he said I could say it on air. He told the Senate Armed Services Committee all this info. And I knew this a few weeks ago, and they said they were going to take him up here and have him testify. Now they called him up and said, what you were given was illegal and what you did was illegal, and we want your sources in the Pentagon and in NATO. And he said, well, I'm a journalist. I don't have to give you that. And they said, we'll see about that, and that's a threat. Now they got him under surveillance, messing with him. And this is how they operate. I mean, they're there to just get the info to shut down. They all know they had Predator drones watching the whole deal. It was an order. Kill the ambassador, cover it up, to cover up giving the Stinger missiles to Al-Qaeda, which they'll probably use to blow up airplanes later and take our rights. I mean, you know, it's that simple. But it's all out there now. So, Stuart, you're a constitutional lawyer. This is a big deal.
It is.
And I agree with you. Yeah, he's contacted him behind the scenes. He needs to go have a press conference. He's done it here. But it shows how cowardly the media is. Not one person in that hour-long press conference would ask Obama about Obamacare yesterday. I mean, look at Infowars.com. Obama trendies want mandatory helmets for walking. 14 out of 20 Austinites think we should wear helmets. I mean, it's just servile cowards everywhere. And Tosh, you are a hero. In a world of cowards, standing up for what's right is heroic. I'm sorry. And it's easy to charge up a machine gun hill, studies have shown. It's harder all by yourself out there to go public against a whole power structure. So your comments here, Stuart Rhodes to Tosh Plumlee.
Well, he's right to not trust politicians. So I think he's right to do a dual-prong approach. Go to the media, make it as big as you can through any alternative media you possibly can do, but also do try to use someone like Rand Paul or Senator Cruz, who have bigger balls than Grassley, frankly. So go to someone like that. Don't count on it, but that's your best shot. And the more public you are, the safer you are.
But they all know. I've talked to Pentagon people. I mean, we've had them on air, and then they get threatened and make me retract what they already said on air.
Right.
I mean, I knew a week after the whole deal. They set him up, they kill him, they got rid of him to give the missiles. And I mean, now he's just got it directly from another NATO person.
He needs more documentation. And as much as you can throw out there right now, so it's too late for them to stop you, the better.
I mean, obviously, they probably know the colonel he's talking to, and they know who the NATO guy is. They just want to try to have a chilling effect. But what if everybody goes public?
Right.
Tosh, make your points. I'm sorry I'm running on here.
No, okay, that's no problem. This is, like I say, this is a project that's been put on the shelf. It was put on, okay, after Cuban days. Then with the gun running operations, we financed both sides. We sent guns to Batista. We sent guns to Fidel Castro when they called him Castro back in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, led to the Bay of Pigs. Guns going to both sides. We come all the way up into Cuba.
Sure, absolutely. We know you've put that on record. It's historical. You've testified to Congress.
Okay, so then they push it off. Now here, back to focus, back to where it started all this. I started these questions. Do I have time to? I'm going to make a direct challenge on your broadcast to the senators that Stuart is trying to get me in contact with, to the mainstream media who will dodge these questions, to the people that go to a press conference and ask the President of the United States questions. If they ask these kind of questions, they'll be thrown out on their ear. Can I ask these questions on your program, log them before the fact, and ask them to give you direct answers to these questions?
Yes, sir. We got to go to break here in a moment. We can come back and do those questions, but start getting into your direct questions now.
My direct question is the United States secretly arming and supporting various factions of the Syrian rebels with high-caliber impact weapons from the United States arsenal? Yes or no? Number 2 is the United States' little-known direct commercial sales program, also known as the Blue Lantern Report, being used as a cutout to secretly aid both sides of a Middle Eastern civil war? That's question number 2, yes or no? Is America again playing both sides against the middle for corporate gain, as previously demonstrated by the Cuban project of the 50s and 60s, as well as the Iran-Contra fiasco of the 80s?
Tosh, stay there. We're back in 1 minute. Infowars.com/show for the video feed.
Alex Jones.
We've got the head of Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes, riding shotgun with us. We were just talking during the break who we could go to. Walter Jones in North Carolina, frequent guest here. We'll contact him. Justin Amash out of Michigan. He's really good. Rand Paul's just hard to get through his gatekeepers. Like, I'd have to call Rand Paul at his home, his Kentucky house, to get him on if I wanted to. Never get through all his minions that are basically a bunch of Daily Caller people, which is fine. I don't even care. I don't need to get him on my show. The point is, last time he came on, he called me and wanted to come on. Why don't I ever hear from you? Well, some Ron Paul called me a while back. Why haven't I heard from you? I was like, well, you're people, But that's a big part of the problem, because the minions just want to go up. And even though their boss is good, if it's Rand Paul or Ted Cruz, you can't get to them. So I think you ought to take Tosh Plumlee up there and walk him into his office. Because Tosh, really is the real deal. He's a famous whistleblower, still does contract work for these agencies as a civilian. Tosh, finish your points. I'm sorry, we've only got about 4 minutes left. Finish your points that you want to read out, your challenge to the senators here on air.
I don't really care about going to see any of those people up there. I've been up there to Washington 6 times, and out of 6 times, it has not got covered. It's been covered up, and the only thing that's happened is I've been threatened. Now, I'm going to go a 7th time, cover up behind closed doors, classified committee, top secret committee sensitive, and then get warning that if I discuss this with you or anybody else, Fox News or whoever they come out there, that I'm going to be going to jail for releasing national, matters of national security. I don't mean to ramble and go on.
No, I get it. There are a bunch of.
I'd rather see the American people ask these questions.
Right.
In fact, everybody should go to town halls and ask these questions so they can get them at your Facebook. They're in our article, former CIA whistleblower targeted by government.
Why don't they ask them? Why don't they answer? Why don't they answer and give Miss Smith back? Let's focus back to what started me opening that Facebook page. Let's start back to why I come on your program. Let's go back to what happened when I contacted Jim Mars, who helped me start all this. Let's refocus about, and these questions are very important. Mrs. Smith should be asking these questions. The American people should be asking these
Exactly.
questions.
You've already done a lot of work. You've done it over and over again, and people need to get up off their hind ends and do it. So get into your last points.
Well, everybody talks about and blasts their lips around the country, but nobody wants to go out on point and attack. When I say attack, I don't mean rabble rouse and talk a bunch of bullshit out of your lips and your butt and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about facts. Is the United States little-known direct commercial sales program, also known as the Blue Lantern Report, being used as a cutout to secretly aid both sides of a Middle Eastern civil war? Yes or no, Mr. President, Mr. Senate, Mr. Whoever just heard this? Answer, yes or no. We want it on record. If you say no and we find out later, you lied to the American people. That's my goal. That's my aim. I'm very adamant about it. My whole life is hanging on what the hell happened on these questions. Now, why is it that these questions will not be answered for Mrs. Smith, who lost her son in Benghazi, and also the other people that lost loved ones in Benghazi? I have another question. I'm full of questions. I'm a journalist. That's my job, to ask questions. Why can't these questions be asked in a press conference to the president? Why can't we get these people to answer these questions for the record? Yes or no? What happened to those weapons after legally being sold by this direct commercial program after they leave our control? Are they monitored? How come our troops have to stand up and face these American weapons when they're in the hands of radical steering groups? That's a question.
Absolutely. Tosh, we're out of time. I'm going to talk to you during the break here, but the questions are up on Infowars.com. They're up on your Facebook as well. We're linked to that on Infowars.com. And I understand we all need to get these questions out and force them to answer them. And I want to also thank Stuart Rhodes for being here. Nightly news coming up tonight, 7 o'clock Central. Please pray for all whistleblowers like Mr. Plumlee, or journalists like Mr. Plumlee, and us.
If you'd like to see the rest of that interview, and I know you do, head on over to Prison Planet TV and become a subscriber. You'll find the rest of that interview, as well as the Alex Jones Show, the nightly news, all of our special reports, movies, rants. Share this transmission today. Join us again here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central for the Infowars Nightly News. I'm Leanne McAdoo.
Many anthropologists and archaeologists believe that before man even discovered the power to harness and use fire, we were involved in agrarian activities. That is, taking the seeds of plants and then replanting them to produce more. The very foundation of our modern civilization and human culture is centered around the planting and cultivation of edible plants.
Here are some of the amazing deals at Infowars Seed Center at InfowarsShop.com.
The Survival Seed Vault by My Patriot Supply features only the finest survival heirloom seeds for a robust and hardy garden, even in the toughest times. We also have starter varieties of the deluxe seed packages for fruit, salad, salsa, peppers, medical herbs, and more.
Go to the Infowars Seed Center at InfowarsShop.com.
And remember, the revolution against tyranny is growing. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
We take this business of waking people up very seriously here at Infowars. That's why we have such a huge outreach operation. And it wouldn't be possible without the Infowars magazine. And we have a very special October edition for you. We're going to make it super easy for you to get interactive with your friends and family by giving you these lovely cutout masks. Not one, but 2 very scary educational tools for you to hit the street.
Join with the collective. Just go to sleep, and when you awaken, there'll be no more free will. And whatever you do, don't get a copy of October's special Infowars.com magazine. Whatever you do, don't resist. Give in.
260,000 of you could be out there as Obamacare or Prozac, the killer clown.
Hi, kids! It's me, your favorite selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor!
Just cut along the dotted lines, cut some holes for the eyes, and attach a few rubber bands, and you are ready to wake up America this Halloween.
Remember, kids, Obamacare is for you and your family, and so is Prozac and Ritalin. So whatever you do, don't secure your copy of Infowars magazine and resist, because death is good for you.
You can pick up your copy today at the Infowars store. You can always buy these in bulk at cost, and for a limited time, the annual subscription is just $39.95. Call now because operators are standing by.
Obama will love you.
Because people need to know that Obamacare is bone-chillingly frightening. Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.